Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Daniel,
We are the hosts of the EVlc podcast.
where we interview people that are making a positive impact in the world. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the EVlc podcast. Today, we are interviewing Mr. G. He is a high school shop teacher from New Jersey. He is also one of the EVlc's teachers. In addition, he is the founder of Mr. G's Creative Workshop, where he gives classes on welding, engine repair, bicycle repair, and electric vehicles.
Thank you so much
Awesome.
for being here.
How you doing? Yeah, thanks for having me. This is exciting.
So tell us more about what you do.
Okay, so I'm my full-time day job is I'm a high school auto and metal shop teacher, and basically what that means is we draw stuff and then we build it. So we go from concept to reality. Uh, you know, we also add in some trade skills like welding and machining. And then nights and weekends, I do some artwork and some I'm into mechanics as well. So what I teach is kind of what I like doing. I like modifying cars, and I like working on engineering projects. So that's what I do.
So I want to know more about what's it like in New Jersey versus here because you work in both places, right? Like you work around.
Well, so there is a big difference.
Mhm.
And so I grew up in New Jersey, but I was born in Brooklyn, and I went to college in Brooklyn. And there is a thing in New Jersey and New York that is not replicated anywhere else, which is there's this tension.
Tension.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of an anxiety, people got to get places now. We don't
Ah.
have time for any BS stuff like that. So it's a fast pace. A lot of people are rude here, but we enjoy that. We actually enjoy the rudeness.
What
Okay.
the
Yeah.
joy being rude.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to enjoy it. Otherwise, you go crazy here.
Uh-huh.
The traffic here is nuts. And people are in a rush all the time. If you ever heard the song A New York Minute, if you ever heard the phrase A New York Minute, is like everything is done in a New York Minute. I grew up working for my dad. He was a baker, and that was one of the jobs I had. And having a bakery in New York City, it was like you get on the phone with like the customers, PO'd, and there's someone over there that wants something, and you got to get the deliveries downtown, and you got to go fast,
Mhm.
and there is no like, oh, how's it going? So contrast, California, uh, walk into a deli in California and you say, oh, I'd like egg and cheese on a sandwich. And I remember one time in San Diego, the cook was like, uh, I didn't start the grill yet, so it's gonna be a couple of minutes. I was like, what? Nah, no, 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 no. It's got to be now, like that.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I appreciate the California style where it's like, whatever, bro, whatever. Everything's
Mhm.
like chill, chill, bro. Everything's good. I think that in California, people are more relaxed, but more clever. And New
Mm.
York, I think they just work really hard, but they're not so clever sometimes, you know. So I like both, but if I were to prefer it, I like California more. But I
Okay.
understand New Jersey though. I understand what happens.
That's I thought, yeah, I don't know. I never knew what I thought about, New Jersey, New York. I just like from media it depicts it in this way where it's like so hectic, chaotic, and I've always like wondered how it was.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not like that all the time, but if you're in New York, New Jersey, and you can't move fast, it's gonna be, yeah, you have to move fast. And in California, I think you got to be clever and relax. And I mean clever like in a good way. Like think about all the engineering projects that have come out of California. It's incredible. You guys are always on the cutting edge of innovation. You have electric car companies. you have hot rod companies, you have a lot of sports out there. Very clever, very smart people in California, but also kind of relaxed, you know? So I like that style better, but I do appreciate the contrast. There is a contrast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your dream job as a child?
Okay, dream job. And Steph, your audio is a little bit low for some reason, but um, dream job. So my dream job is basically I just want to draw vehicles and then figure out how to make them. So I wanted to be a car designer, and work for like Ferrari or maybe somebody in Detroit. I was always into cars from day one. I remember going back as far as second grade. In second grade, I remember trying to figure out what a turbo was. I didn't understand what that was. So I spent time in the library. There was like a section of like maybe 5 books. That was it for the automotive section, and I just focused on. Oh, there's feedback now. Anyway, so I just focused on cars in general. The car thing kind of led me down the road of engineering. I didn't understand what engineering was. So my dream job as a kid was just drawing cars and building them. And that led to a whole bunch of other stuff, which is pretty amazing.
So that's what got you involved with like engineering and stuff like that, drawings and.
Yeah, so like I started with drawings, literally,
Okay.
because yeah, my mom was an artist, and she taught she taught elementary and middle school art classes, but she was also an artist. That she would do sculpture and she would do paintings and whatnot. And I would always draw. Like I would just if someone gave me if there was a piece of paper handy, I would
Mhm.
sit there and I would draw something. But how do you make your drawing into something real? And that's the ride. I literally been on this ride since my whole life, so that's what led me down the road.
Okay. Were you always like, cause like personally me, I'm not good at math. I don't think I'm that good at math. I'm taking calculus right now, and I'm like, oh no, I don't really like it. I'm a
Yeah.
business major, and
No,
it's rough.
no, you're good. No, you're good. Math is all depends on what you need. Um, so for instance, like if I taught, like, let's say someone learns, um, you know, let me think about this for a second. You you basically don't need, like, okay, so now I know how to answer it. Okay.
Hmm.
I treat all my students like they're spies. Okay. You're
Okay.
on a need to know basis. You don't need something unless you need it for the project. So I teach projects. If you need calculus for the project, we're going to learn calculus.
Hmm.
If you don't, then we don't. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm a learn as you go type of thing. Whatever's needed for what you're going to do.
Hmm.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Because like with engineering, I assume there's a lot of math that goes into it.
Oh no, wait. Let me stop you right there. Okay. Engineering is not math.
Really?
Yeah, math is just a tool. Okay, and let me explain. I'm glad you asked that. Okay, this word engineering comes
Hmm.
up a lot. People say, "Oh, engineering, that's math." They think it's math or physics. Okay. Those are just tools for engineering. This is what I think engineering is, okay?
Okay.
All right. Engineering is a measurable benefit for the end user. And let me explain.
Uh huh.
So, for instance, let's say the car burns, 25 miles per gallon. Okay, let's just say that's what it does. All right,
Okay.
and it costs $20,000. Okay, this is your base, right? If you could use your brain, math, no math, don't matter. You could dream this up. If you could come up with a dream on how to get it to do 50 miles to the gallon or any increase, anything better than the original 25 miles to the gallon. But you could do it for the same cost or something similar. You've made a measurable benefit. You can measure it. You started here, and now you did something better. And then the end user could use it. So engineering is like athletics. Like, for instance, it's like if you're an athlete and you run a mile in, let's say, 8 minutes, okay? And now you're like, how do I get it down to 7 minutes? You got to work on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing for engineering. So if you have, let's say, a car and you look at the front grille and you look at the way this, like if you look at the shape of the car and it turns out that the mirrors are holding back the wind, right? What if you had cameras that are this big and the wind goes past it and now you get 1 more mile per gallon better?
Mm-hmm.
And the cost of the cameras was like small. So you've made a measurable benefit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's basically like what you make out of it more.
Well, you need a baseline. You have to
Yeah.
measure something. This is very important. It's not like artwork is like not measured.
Uh-huh.
Okay. You have to make a measurable benefit. So you measure your baseline. You're like, okay, it does this. And I came up with this idea that does this. Can I measure that difference? Is it better gas mileage? Or does it go faster? Like EVwc, they make cars that go really fast, right?
Yep.
So they have a baseline. So they start with a car that does, let's say, 200 miles an hour. And they're like, okay, how do we make it go 201 miles an hour? How do we make it go 202? So they think about it. You can even dream about this stuff. So math, that's just a tool. That's just like a wrench.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I always thought that like it was like a huge part of it. I guess it was just a misconception or something.
No, because there's computers. You could use a computer for the math.
That's true.
Wait, I'll give you even better. You're studying business, right?
Yeah.
All right. So in business, let's say I don't know if they give you an example of like a deli or something, right? I don't know if you guys have delis out there or whatever, but let's say you got a pizza shop, okay?
Okay.
So there's a pizza shop, and the pizza shop makes a certain amount of money per year.
All right.
All right. And it turns out that you're like, how do I make it make more money, but at the same location with the same customers, right? Well, if you charge more, you might have less customers. What if you found a cheaper ingredient? No, that's not a good idea because you don't want to bring down the quality. Oh, what if you added a band? So now when people come in, they get to listen to music, right? It was a small cost to you, but now you have a band, and now the line is out the door. Now you got a line around the block. People are coming in to see the band and get some pizza, and they love it. You've made a measurable benefit to your business plan.
I understand.
Okay.
You should become a teacher, Mr. G. Really good teacher.
Yeah, because engineering is everything. Engineering is business. Engineering is even medical. I had a kid come to me and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. G. I can't take your class because I'm gonna be a med student, so I'm not gonna take engineering." And I go, "Stop right there, dude." I was like, "What's the first thing that happens when the patient walks in?" And they're like, "Probably take vital signs." I go, "Oh, you made a measurement. And what are you going to do when they leave if they're not well? You're going to try and make some sort of improvement, right?" Bam. There's your engineering. That's a measurable benefit.
Mm-hmm. Did he end up taking your class? Or?
Yes.
Oh, really? He
Yeah.
changed his mind?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
After that, he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you know what? I want to take engineering."
Yeah, because engineering, it doesn't matter whether you're working on cars or you're working on business or you're working on a podcast. It doesn't matter. You got these numbers here. You got to measure. If you don't measure, then it's just artwork. You're just guessing. Guessing is not engineering. Okay? Get your baseline. You dream up some improvement, and then you measure the difference. That difference, boom, that's engineering.
I never looked at it like that. That's
Yeah, I
interesting.
know. I know because everyone's confused about what engineering is. I know. I hear it
You
all the
just
time.
informed everybody.
Good.
Now
Good.
everybody knows what they're gonna remember. Oh, that's engineering. It's not
Totally.
math. It's not just math.
No, no,
Now,
math is like a wrench. That's like a tool that you
exactly,
have.
exactly.
Yeah. In fact, if you wanted to measure something and you needed calculus and you couldn't do it, you could just get your friend to do it.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
don't personally have to know any of this stuff,
That's
but
right.
you got to measure it.
That's true.
Yeah,
I
but
understand.
it gets better. Some stuff is hard to measure, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like, okay, one more example on this.
Go for it.
Elon Musk, he knows how much it costs to launch stuff into outer space, like a thing. Like if you want to launch a person, a piece of food, a plant, a scientific equipment, whatever. He knows what that costs, and so does NASA. Everybody knows what that costs. Okay, I don't have the number off my head, top of my head, but he knows the number.
Okay.
It's called the cost to space. How much does it cost, right? So he says, wait a minute, every time they launch, the rocket goes like this, the thing in the middle, and then you ever see the side pieces and what happens to the thing? It always throws into the ocean, the
Yeah.
fuel tanks, right? So if it's like this piece goes out, and then this goes in the garbage. They literally throw it out, right?
Uh-huh.
Forever. Everybody saw these pictures, right? So he's like, wait a minute, why are you throwing that out? Why don't we launch you to outer space, and then the thing that got you there, they call it the first stage, okay?
Okay.
The thing that got you there, it turns around and comes down and lands on its feet. And you didn't have to throw it out. So now all you got to do is refuel, and you could go to space again. You don't have to make a new one. So he dreamed this up. He dreamed it up. He didn't do any, he did math later,
Uh-huh.
but so he's making a measurable benefit to the cost of space.
Yeah, that's insane. Like I never
Yeah.
looked at it like that way. Like because I
Yeah.
always see these like, you know, they like separate and they drop the part of the
Yeah. They're
yeah.
throwing it out. It would be like his example is imagine if you take an airplane and you go from, let's say, well, in my case, I would say New York to Florida or something like that, but it doesn't matter. When you arrive, the airplane crash lands, but you're safe. Like your little pod pops out, you're safe, but the rest of the vehicle is garbage. The cost of your ticket would be huge. So, but the reason that your airplane cost is so cheap, like a couple $100, right? I mean, I understand because $100 is expensive, $200 is expensive, but relatively, you're flying through air, like 600 miles an hour to get to another state. That's fast, okay? So it's relatively cheap, right? And why is that? Because when the thing lands, they vacuum it up, and then they change pilots, and then they refuel and turn it around, and they go back with more passengers. So they're not throwing the vehicle out. So this is the difference, is that Elon Musk is like, how do we make it so that you don't throw the vehicle out every single time you go to space? And it's just an idea.
It's all about efficiency and, you know,
Exactly.
exactly.
But you got to measure that efficiency. You got to say, this is what it cost before. I have a dream. I'm going to make that a reality. This is what it costs after. You measure it.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. That was a good one. That's a good one.
Okay, so I don't know if you can hear me now, but
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
okay. Why do you volunteer with EVlc?
Oh, I love the EVlc because you have, it's a good premise, right? Like, when I grew up, electric vehicles were a joke. That was for hippies. It didn't even work. Like, it was like, and hippies, not in a bad way. It's just that people that, they would just throw some batteries in a vehicle. It kind of didn't really work that well. They're like trying to save the environment, all these things. They had dreams, but their measurements they didn't measure it. And so it was kind of like, so it didn't really go anywhere. But then when someone when people started working on electric vehicles, but they thought, okay, we need to measure this and really need to engineer it. We need to do a good job. It got exciting because they started putting laptop batteries into vehicles. So now the cool thing now is to modify your car from gas to electric. And the old school people, like I'm 44, it's surprising that I'm into electric cars. It's surprising, okay? To be fair, one caveat, in Southern California, a lot of people are like into electric cars. It's not like that in New Jersey, okay? And very recently, because of Tesla, people are into electric cars. But so where do you go learn about it, right? So like, where would somebody who wants to change their mind about what it takes to move a vehicle, where would you teach them about this? And how do you get the young kids excited about this and give them the tools, right? And so the EVlc is like purpose built to teach kids and adults about electric vehicles. And see, the beauty of it is that it's not so much that it's not that, oh, it has to be electric. See, I don't really care if the vehicle is electric or it's electric. It doesn't matter. You can make up a word, right? It's that you want to go forward using less carbon or less energy, right? And a really efficient way to do it is to use batteries, right? So the EVlc is like purpose built. It's like right next to EV West, so it's inspired by EV West, and this is such a great thing. So the opportunity to help out, I was like, yeah, let's totally do this, because there's no like dedicated. Well, there probably are a few, but I don't think there's any other dedicated electric vehicle school in Southern California. I think there's one in North, and I think maybe there's 3 or 4 in the whole country. So it's pretty rare. So that excited me. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna ask, like, was there ever a point, I guess with both careers, like engineering, teaching, like where you wanted to like give up all this stuff, like where there
Oh
was
yeah.
like a really hard point because like through professions there obviously comes like some, tribulations and stuff like that. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I,
Good
I
question.
wondered I wondered if you had one of those moments, and what was it, if you're able to share.
Yeah, 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 100%. So, when I was a kid, I did a lot of artwork, and then people encouraged me to go to school for design. Okay, and I went to school for product design, which is basically you draw something and you come up with something that the consumer would want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the problem with the school was that it was very heavy into art, and only maybe like 10% into not just engineering, but like actually making it. Actually, they weren't really into engineering. They were into prototyping. So they would take your drawing, whether this is a good idea or not, and they would ask you to make like a 3-dimensional model. Okay, so some people were like, I want to do cars, but a lot of people were doing, let's say, it could be anything. It could be the remote for your TV, or it could be a chair. It could be anything. It could be any product, basically. Okay. Now, this is an inherent flaw. There's a flaw with this. Okay. So when you graduate, you don't actually know if you could build this thing, right? Because you don't have any cost. You didn't measure anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you have no cost. So the scary moment was when I applied for a job as a product designer. I got rejected like all over the place. I got rejected at places in New York. I got rejected at places in New Jersey. And I didn't understand. I took it as like an insult. I was like, what? They don't like my art?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God, So, so Daniel, this is like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Okay, like,
It's not easy hearing like no, or you're not,
yeah, no, and you should get out of this industry. Like, I had one professor tell me I'm no good and I'll never be any good. Yeah, and it's weird because I'm paying his salary, so it's kind of weird, So it felt personal.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to hit this wall, right? So I hit this major wall. And what I did to break through that wall was I just stopped. And I was like, what is it? What is the problem here? You know, like what's going on, right? And I was like, okay, I don't know what they're doing. Like I can't speak for them, but I could think to myself, like, what's the problem, right? So what I thought of was, what do I really want to do? You know? And I really just want to like draw cars or products, and then I want to like make them, right? So I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I got really lucky. It was a perfect timing. In 2002, because I graduated in 2001, so I kind of bounced around. You know, I had to get a job, so I became a bartender, and you know, I did all these things. Right. This is what you do when you're fluctuating. You don't know what to do, so you do other jobs, right?
Okay.
But while that's happening, there was this TV show that came on. I got really lucky. There was this TV show that came on. It was called Monster Garage. All right. And have you ever seen this thing?
I haven't.
Okay. Basically, there was this guy in California named Jesse James, right? And he was like a motorcycle dude, right?
Okay.
And he would get on TV, and they would just come up with an idea, and then 7 days later, they would have the thing. So they'd be like, all right, we're gonna take this car, we're gonna take this truck, and we're gonna combine them. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot of work. How are you gonna do it? And they would like weld it and cut it, and they would make it work, and like they would do all these things, and it was like a mad dash of 7 days of working just nonstop until it was done, right? And I was like, whoa. So I looked into this guy. He didn't go to college. He didn't do any of that stuff. He didn't go to product design school or nothing. He knew how to make things with his hands. He knew how to weld. He knew how to machine. He knew how to do mechanics and electronics. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. So it's kind of like being a kid. You get to build stuff, but like as an adult, I was like, all right, forget all this. So I stopped applying for all those silly jobs, and I shifted gears and I went to a railing shop, right? I went to a railing shop and I begged them to teach me welding. And the guy said, well, basically, the short of the story is, instead of trying to ask for a job, I just said, I'm just going to do the stuff that I want to do. I'm going to prove myself is basically what happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
So the turning point for me, like you asked about a turning point. The turning point for me was I thought I did what the college said to do. You draw a lot of pictures and you make these little prototypes. But what they really want is somebody who can turn a concept into reality and they can measure it. Yeah, and this is without measuring it, you really have no way of knowing whether it's going to be good or not, right?
Yeah.
So I stopped trying to ask the world for something, and I just decided to just do it. So I learned how to weld. I got a car. I worked on it. I bought a motorcycle. I didn't know anything about motorcycles, and I started figuring it out. You just figure it out. You take a book and the part, and you go step by step, and you look at it. You're like, does that look right? I don't know. Call up a friend who knows how to do it. Have them teach you it. You just do what you have to do. You don't ask, hey, can I have a job? Like, forget that.
It's basically like you're creating your own opportunities instead of like,
Yes.
I understand.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a rough point because I felt like giving up. You asked, was there a point where you wanted to? I was like terrified.
Yeah.
I was scared. It was a weird thing to get rejected like that. I didn't know.
It's the uncertainty, I think, which scares us all because we don't know like what's gonna happen in life if we get rejected from something. What's next? That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, like, what I thought was that you just do what your parents, the teachers, and the school, they all tell you to do this thing, but like,
Exactly.
it doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to break it to everybody. Don't do what everybody says to do.
That's the best advice possible.
Yeah, just do the right thing. Just do what is best to accomplish your goal. You might need a side job while you're doing
Mm-hmm.
that,
That's true.
but always come back around to your original goal and ask, instead of saying like when people ask for jobs, they're like, "Oh, can I have a job?" Like, whoa. Job is like a relationship, like you can't just ask somebody, "Hey, you want to get married?" We don't know each other. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
You're going to get rejected. So you want to start with like a relationship. You want to start with a friendship. Say, "Hey, you want to do this cool thing where we make something?" All right, fine. "Hey, I've made this thing." "Oh, that's interesting." Get people excited about what you're doing, and through that, you'll learn.
You got to get your like foot in the door first before like
Yeah.
doing anything. I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
Well, let me add one more thing
Go for it.
to that question. So there was that was okay. So that was a turning point. Like I got rejected, and then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna make cars. Whatever that takes. That was one. That's one piece of the puzzle. There's a second piece of the puzzle. Okay. The second piece of the puzzle is this, and this is really important advice that I would like to give to people. Okay.
All right. Let's hear.
Yeah. So when I was drawing cars and whatnot, okay, you got to think to yourself, of course, you think the car is cool. Like you're like, "Oh man, I drew this cool car," right? But you got to ask yourself a very strategic question. Is this vehicle or whatever you did helpful for the world? Like, are other people going to benefit from what you did? Okay. It's very strategic question. All right. So like, for instance, early on, I thought, well, if I draw this cool car, people will think it's cool. Not necessarily. And
Yeah.
what is the benefit for the world? You see? So like, let's say you start a business. Does that business help people? Yes or no? You see? Once you figure out if a business is helpful, then you will benefit because people need stuff. They're willing to pay for things, and they need stuff. So you got to think, am I being helpful?
Yeah, I understand completely because like sometimes when we start stuff or when we make stuff, we think about ourselves sometimes. It's just natural to do that. We don't
Right.
think about like how this could help other people. Sometimes we just think for ourselves, like how will it benefit me? But that's really solid advice to just consider others, and see their
Yeah.
needs.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for instance, let's say you make a pizza at home,
Uh-huh.
okay, and you enjoy the pizza, but now you got to think, "Oh, I want to start a pizza shop." Well, did everybody else like your pizza, and can you make it at a reasonable price?
Mm-hmm.
So if you make a pizza for yourself, that doesn't mean that other people want your pizza.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it could
Yeah.
be really good to you, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And then also it might be very expensive because you made it at home. Well, how are you going to make pizzas all day long, like hundreds of pizzas? And how are you going to do it at a reasonable price that's competitive relative to the quality? So it's difficult. It's difficult. I think engineering and business is very creative. I mean, like you said, going back to what you said. Oh man, what about the math? It's not the math. It's can you measure the bottom and then dream up something, like dream something or think of something You're like, oh man, what if I did it like this? Try it and measure, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what's going on.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
So
what
cool.
gives you the motivation to keep going?
Oh, okay. You said, what is my motivation for keep going? Okay, motivation is a difficult one. Like I'm all excited right now, but
Uh-huh.
to be honest, like, let's say we didn't have this podcast, then I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be motivated to like express all these things or something. So
Mm.
I'm motivated by other people with like a deadline. Like let's say if you guys put it on the calendar, okay, I'm like, all right, I know I got to be here and I know I got to be awake and ready to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same thing comes for like, that's why I'm a teacher, like class time. Boom, it's class time. It's go time, you know? Or if you're trying to build a car to get ready for like a race, like, oh man, we got a week. What are we going to do? You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
I got a week to get to the race course and we got to get this thing going. You're like, you'll stay up all night. You'll do whatever it takes, you know? But then if I don't have a deadline or another person working with me, I'll be completely honest. I don't really accomplish much. I'm like the biggest procrastinator ever. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not good, you know? So I have to schedule like appointments all the time. And that's important for what I do. So motivation, I would say everyone's different. Some people, I guess they talk about this introvert versus outrovert or whatever. I'm more like, I don't know. I think I'm both. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll come in the workshop and I'll get in here and I'll be like, oh man, I know I got to do this thing, but I don't want to do it. And you just give it a couple of minutes, you know, maybe you clean up a little bit, and all of a sudden you get in a zone and you're good. Or I need a deadline. I come in, I'm like, okay, it's go time. I know I got to get this thing ready. What do I need? What do I need? Okay, and then I make a list and I go get it, you know.
Okay.
So I would say motivations, you got to be careful with that one because like motivation could be super high and super low. Like, so you got to be careful, you know? Oh, I'm not giving say you, man. I'm saying I got to be careful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So okay, I have one last question. It's the deepest question out of all of them.
All right.
It's like, how would you say you're making the world a better place? Like, in your opinion, what is your impact?
All right. I like this question. It's funny. It's cliche because it's like, how are you
Uh-huh.
going to make the world a better place? That's like from Silicon Valley, the TV show. And all the Silicon Valley stuff, they're like, oh, how do we this product makes a better place.
Yeah,
Um,
the reason why I asked that is because like some
oh,
people
it's a
don't
good question.
recognize
It's a good question though.
some people genuinely don't like realize that they do actually have an impact, and like it's good to make that aware, because all of us are, whether we think so or not, we're making an impact in this world.
100%. So this goes back to the main question, the second question about, or basically, am I being helpful? So
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I draw cars, but is that helpful? Like, how am I helping people, right? So the way I would like to make the world a better place, and the way I'm working on it is, I want it. There's a couple things.
Mm-hmm.
I want to empower people, right? So I feel bad. I feel bad for students coming up who are going through, like, it must be in the DNA because it's
Mm-hmm.
on loop. Like the problems that I went through are the same problems that all the students go through. Like, for instance, you don't know what engineering is. I'm like, dude, it's not math. Relax, right? So,
Yeah.
and then like I have students in my school, and they say to me, um, "Oh, I'm so tired. I can't do my homework." I'm like, "Why?" They're like, "Oh, well, I got a job." I'm like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Oh, I work at Chipotle or I work at
Mm-hmm.
Dairy Queen." And I'm like, "You want to be a chef?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, okay, so why are you working as a chef when you don't want to be a chef? And they're like, "Nah, yo, I need money." And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "No, dude. No, 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 no. You never want to work for money. You want to get paid to learn."
Ooh, yeah, that's solid.
Yeah. You want to get paid to learn. Working for money, it's like that hamster. You ever see the hamster wheel? The
Yeah.
faster you run, the faster the wheel goes. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So like let's say you work. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you're like flat broke and you need food, okay, fine. All right.
Mhm.
All right, fine. But if you got food, what you really want is a job that teaches you stuff. So like it would be better if you're trying to be an engineer or a mechanic and you're young, work at a bicycle repair shop,
Mhm.
right? Or go work at an engineering place, but just doesn't matter if you sweep the floor. But don't work at Dairy Queen because they're not going to train you to work on cars there. You see? So I want to empower people to follow their dreams and to follow like a path that will get them there. And the most important part is you definitely have to stay like on your career path, right?
Mhm.
So I want to encourage that. That's part one. So part two would be like, I think that they don't encourage the youth enough. I think there's this idea that if you just memorize a bunch of stuff and you put it on a test, like all of a sudden you're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like in
you're right.
school. Yeah, this is not real.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, what I would say is I don't think that I okay. My dream to help people out would be an incubator. So like you have an idea, we help you get there. That idea flourishes, and I get a little piece of that. So as a shop teacher, we can like build something,
Mhm.
uh, and I'm kind of working on a product too. And then and then with the classes that we do at EVlc, we bridge the gap. Like, what is engineering, or how do you work on cars? Like, we try and demystify all this stuff because the youth are so important. Um, like they got to be like the most valuable thing. Like for instance, if you calculated how much money you could potentially earn over your lifetime, it could be $5 million. Okay, it could be 5 or 10. It could be more, right?
Mhm.
And it could be 100 million, right? But they don't treat. Do you feel like $5 million when the teacher talks to you in a school?
Mm-mm.
I mean,
No.
no, you're like, right. And even if you're an athlete, like I give you an example, right? Let's say you're a sports athlete, and the idea is that you're going to be like the shortstop for the Yankees or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Well, but that means that each finger, right? Each finger is worth like $1 million, right? Each toe is worth like $1 million. Your eyes are worth like millions of dollars, right? Because
Mhm.
if you calculate a player's salary, right? So I'm like, I always say to the students in my class, I go, you better take care of your body if you're going to be an athlete. So sometimes they don't wear glasses in my class, and I'm like, I guess you don't care about your $1 million eyes.
Mhm.
Your eyes got to be worth like $5 million each. You know what I mean? So like, you have such potential. You're in the millions of dollars, right? Your thoughts are worth millions of dollars, right? But they don't treat it like that.
Yeah.
And so if I could give a gift to the world, I would say we really need to empower the youth. Like, let them have a chance to create stuff that's new. Think about it. What if we had no Thomas Edison, right? We would not have electricity, maybe
Mhm.
until a lot later. Recordable sound, by the way, was made by Thomas Edison. He
Oh, I
was
did
kicked.
not know that. Oh,
He was
wow.
kicked. He was kicked out of school.
Mm.
Steve Jobs dropped out of the first year of college. Okay, so did
Mhm.
Bill Gates. So did Zuckerberg. So did a lot of these people. There's
Mhm.
a long list, and so I think that the general idea. I mean, I don't know what it's like growing up for you guys, but when I
Yeah.
was in school, like they treated us like we were just like a pain in the butt. Like, come on, get over here, or whatever. what are you doing? Or, stop doing that or whatever, but it's like, of course you want people to have a little bit of discipline and respect and whatnot. But dude, those people are going to be adults really soon. And they're going to be the ones coming up with new ideas. We need new ideas all the time. Space travel is going to be a major thing. So we need the youth to be excited, empower them, let them try new stuff. So if I would help the world, if it was going to be like, how are you going to make the world a better place? I would hope that we come up with a way to help people achieve. Now, when someone says achieve their dreams, one caveat: achieve their dreams of helping people. That's important detail, because someone says you should follow your dreams. Yeah, but what if your dreams are not really helpful for people?
Yeah.
Like, I had a dream of like drawing the cars or whatever, but they weren't like, there was no way to make them helpful. So like, someone says, if you look at a Ferrari, the reason Ferrari is helpful is because they win on the track, and then you're buying a car that looks like their car that won. And so you're inspired. Ferrari is an inspiration, just like an athlete. The New York Yankees are inspiring. So you're looking at what's possible. You see? So I would say follow your dreams if your dreams are helpful.
Okay.
Figure out a way to be helpful for the world. You can't just follow your dreams. Your dreams might not have a purpose.
Yeah.
You need a purpose.
I agree. You need a purpose in life. You need to have a path,
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
I hope that answers the question.
for sure. It does.
All
Well,
right.
thank you so much, Mr. G, for joining us. We really appreciate having you here. This has been a nice conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, my pleasure. This is awesome. That's good questions.
But yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you.